Hey viewers, thanks for tuning in today. So you might notice Diana and I here have some really cute, adorable little puppies with us today. These are actually various types of Labradoodles. So we're going to talk a little bit today about the history of Labradoodles because they wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the Lab or the Poodle. So I think it's kind of important for people to understand a little bit about where that came from. Don't you think, Diana?
Absolutely. It gives people a better understanding of what the good traits that you're getting from each dog,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
hair type, and we'll get into the hair type and all of that later.
Yeah.
But it's good to have a little background information on these different dog types because they both
I
have
agree.
really amazing traits, and it's a growing in popularity, and
And it just explains so much about why Labradoodles are what they are when you understand that history.
yeah, absolutely. So tell us a few facts about labs.
Excellent. Labs are actually a really great place to start. So labs actually originally came into existence in Canada, but they didn't actually acquire their name until they went to England because of the Labrador Sea. They were retrieving, thus Labrador Retriever, out of the Labrador Sea. So that's kind of where their purpose started, which is again why they're considered a retriever dog. In modern day usage for families, for pets, what's so great about the Labs is they're so loyal, they're so sweet, they're wonderful with all ages and types of people.
Yes, super friendly.
Very friendly. They're just that all around great, cuddly, I just want to love you dog. And you
Yes.
really have to appreciate the Labs so much for everything that they provide. And here's actually a little known fact that a lot of people aren't aware of. Some Labs have that little white spot on their chest. Maybe you've seen that
Okay,
before.
yeah, I have.
Yep. So the St. John's water dog is actually what they're derived from originally.
Okay, so that's their genetic background.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And that's actually where the Lab gets that color marking from, is the St. John's water
So
dog
it's
carried
just
that
kind
mark.
of carried down generation to generation. That's
Yeah.
really interesting.
It is cool kind of to think with
Yeah.
genetics how something
Yeah.
can last so long, even once it's now considered its own breed, that it still carries that same trait. So as you can see, Nismo here, even though he's a Labradoodle, he very much has the Lab face. He's what's called an F1 generation of Labradoodle. So because of that, he's actually half Lab. And I always say those Lab genes are super strong.
Oh, absolutely. They are really
Yeah.
friendly. You know, I have stories where I have friends that have labs, and one will literally just pick up her toy. And it's not a fetch game. It's a, I'm going to carry around my toy and make you follow me around the house game.
They're so
So-
proud of themselves.
They
That's like that
are.
sweet, goofy. Everyone has that sweet, goofy friend. That,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the Lab is. Like man's best friend. I feel like that expression came into existence because of the Lab.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So what are
Yes.
some more facts about labs? Because I know there's, you know, of course, the obvious visual differences of the
Right.
coat between a lab and a poodle, but there's a reason for that.
There is. Actually, the Labs have a double coat.
Okay.
So basically what that means, the top layer of the coat is what actually protects them in sort of a water resistance way, because again, they were bred as that retriever dog. So it really helped if they could go into water and it kind of be resistant, especially for icy waters. And that undercoat, Nismo's just loving himself right now, look at that.
So cute.
That undercoat is very dense. And that dense coat is actually what protects them from the cold, icy waters.
Do you think that that's because of their Canadian breeding or their English background? That's a different
I think it's
climate.
I think it's still a little of all of the above.
Yeah.
But yeah, since they started
Yeah.
in Canada, I think that's an important concept to understand. Absolutely.
Good for cold weather.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, great.
The Poodles.
The poodles, yes.
You
so
can't leave the
Elmo's
Poodles
a little
out.
on the poodle side, as you can
Elmo,
see.
again, still a Labradoodle, but
Yes.
he's what's considered an F1B Labradoodle, this white one right here. So that means that he is actually 75% poodle, and boy, it really shows with him. He's a little scraggly right now. If you don't have them trimmed pretty regularly, they can get a little scraggly. Hi, baby. What are you doing? But yeah, that's one of the great things about the Poodle actually is their coat type. So interesting thing about their coats. Poodle coats are basically like human hair.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, now you might be wondering what that means though.
Yes,
like, what does
exactly.
that mean?
What
Yeah.
does that-
You're like,
I was
oh,
used to-
okay. Okay, so with a poodle hair coat, they actually do have a little bit of shedding. People don't always realize that because you always hear
Right.
poodles don't shed. But what's happening is it's staying within the coat, so it doesn't count as shedding. They're
Okay.
not like traditional dogs in the sense that traditional dogs shed. But that is a very important differentiation because that means they do have to be brushed a lot more often.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can just look at Nismo's coat. He's not at all cut. That's just his normal cut. And you can look at this and you can see there's definitely more that needs brushing here.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and if you don't, because the poodle's coats actually shed but stay
on the
inside
side,
there, it can mat more easily.
Okay. Okay. So that's where
Exactly.
that comes from.
It's very, very
Okay.
true. Now, having said that, the poodles have a cool history too. Most people agree that they originated from Germany. That's the general consensus. But they are arguably the second smartest dog in the world. By the way, the lab is arguably the seventh. So when you get Labradoodles, those are some smart babies.
Yes.
But because of how intelligent they are, they're known for like their tricks and their ability to do like obstacle courses. They've been used in
puzzles.
circuses.
Oh, okay.
They've actually at like Westminster and other like world dog shows, they've won best of show multiple times. They're so easy to train. In fact, I remember years ago watching the Animal Planet and discovering that somebody had actually taken these cards and they'd made them all look identical, laminated cards, and they'd say lay down, sit, just very basic commands. And they taught the poodle to recognize these symbols. Now, there was an important differentiation. They say that poodles' brains aren't wired in a way where they can actually read the way humans do, but they can recognize the order of symbols to represent something.
Wow.
And so in this one
That's
example,
amazing.
this poodle actually would like look at a card and know what to do on it, and it would like do the command, like sit, lie down, whatever.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
We've chatted, I think, about this a little bit before, and that the Australian Shepherd is that the number one most intelligent?
I've heard
thing?
Australian Shepherd.
Yeah.
I've also heard Border Collie.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always a little bit of argument about what the
What's the number
order of
one?
smart dogs are.
Yes,
People will
yes.
argue about, but yes.
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 Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, are there any other facts that we should know about our poodle coats?
Yes, poodle coats, you do definitely want to groom a lot more often.
Before
Honestly,
and after water. I would
and you have to be
imagine.
careful too, because if they get wet and their coat's in a certain condition, it'll just turn to mats at that point.
Yeah,
So
we don't-
again,
we
if
wanna
you're not,
prevent that.
if you're not brushing it regularly, and then honestly, you want kind of somewhat of a regular grooming schedule too. Probably safe to say about every 8 to 10 weeks that you want to get cut. I've heard some people say they just take a monthly. It makes it easier.
Yeah.
But you know, it depends on what you're looking for cost-wise, because typically grooming is going to run you somewhere between $45 to $75 per session. So you know, it depends. You can kind of do it a few different ways. But then that's why the Labradoodles are so great and we'll talk about it another point, but sneak peek for everybody, there's 3 different Labradoodle coat types, so you can absolutely pick exactly what you want for what works best in your family, and that's the best
For your
of
budget,
both worlds.
for your time, for your allergen level.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's the custom dog.
It is the custom dog. You can have it your way.
Absolutely.
So, that's wonderful information.
Yeah.
Can't wait for the next one. If
So
this-
super excited, yes.
Yes. So if this was helpful for you, make sure to like and share it. Tag a friend who might be
Please,
interested.
yes. Mhm.
And click below, subscribe to this channel to find out more information about Labradoodles, the differences,
Yep.
more information about breeds and generations. We have a lot more information coming your way.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.